Welcome, Amitesh. Thanks for taking time to share a little bit about your career story.
Thanks for having me on your awesome startup show.
Of course. So why don't you just start by sharing what you did previously in your career, and tell me kind of how you got there. Like, was there a moment that kind of like made you realize, like, oh, this is what I want to do? Or is there a series of moments? Tell me about what you did before, and how you entered into that.
Sure thing. I guess my 7-year career can be broken into two halves. The first half was working for a big tech company that was Cisco,
Cool.
and then the second half was the more interesting, joining an early stage startup in India called Local Technologies. Right. So, what motivated me to move to give up a comfortable job and then kind of like go into uncharted waters in a startup was just kind of following my passion. In general, the kind of person I am, I really like to come up with ideas, and I have like an inventive mindset of sorts.
Yeah.
Like I was that person who, as a kid, would just love to take apart all the electronics at home, right? Never made any sense of it, but I love the idea of like taking it apart and peering into it.
Yeah.
And that spirit kind of continued with me as I grew up, and I would come up with ideas for businesses or apps or products, and it would be nice on days when I would go like, oh wow, here's a company that actually, started building on this idea and they're big now, and it makes me feel happy that I came up with this idea too at some point of time.
Huh.
But at, after a while, that starts to become a frustration because you start to feel like, hey, enough of kind of like what saying I came up with ideas. Like I want to kind of like go and execute on it too. I kind of like want to take that idea to its fruition.
Huh.
And I think it was a combination of that frustration and that that consistent desire of, hey, why am I not doing this? That kind of motivated me to start, considering the entrepreneurial path,
Hmm.
right? But the challenge for me was I'm a very risk averse person in general, so I had that starting problem. Like I want to do something entrepreneurial, but it's really difficult for me to kind of like give up my job and go do it on my own, especially because there are so many things that I need to learn,
Yeah.
right? So the best way I found to deal with my challenge was to say, you know what, I'm going to find an early stage startup that's doing something that I like to do, and I'm going to kind of like jump on board with them, try to see if I can work on that, right? So the way I went about that was a little unconventional. Rather than kind of just looking and applying for jobs, I just decided to look up startups and companies whose products that I used or I liked to use, and I would just email them saying, "Hey, I really like your product. I've been using it for this while. There's something interesting I see. There's some more potential. I feel like you guys can cover or do more.
Yeah.
Let me know if we can talk sometime." And most of the time, these startups would actually be willing to talk because these are just like small 5%, 10% startups.
Right.
So they were more than excited for the opportunity of possibly, talking to a potential customer or someone who's using their product.
Huh.
So that kind of opened up this world for me to network into the startup community in India and Bangalore, and start um, figuring out ways where I could brainstorm with them and see where I could add value within the company.
Wow.
And I start. So essentially, that's how I started doing this moonlighting phase. I
Yeah.
had this day job at Cisco, but on all my free moments during the evenings and on the weekends, I would go do this startup kind of stuff.
Wow.
And after doing this with about 3 or 4 startups, I finally found this company that was like super interesting. I really had a lot of respect for what they had worked on. They basically built this app where you could pre-order at a restaurant, and I'm talking about like 2013 when this idea was more of a novelty thing, right? And then I had like great time speaking with the founder of the company and the team, so I had a lot of respect for what they had built and who they were. So I think it all came together and made me realize that, hey, this is that opportunity that I've been waiting for. Time to kind of like quit my job and jump in with these guys here.
Okay.
So essentially, I guess you could say I had like the second-hand entrepreneurial experience.
Interesting.
I was just working for a founder. I was employee number 5, and when I joined them, they basically rebooted, which means whatever product they'd been working on formerly, they had to shutter it.
Okay.
And with me, they started a new phase of the company's life. Came up with an idea for like a new product. So we started from scratch on like, hey, what product can we create? Who are our customers? And going through that whole process.
Yeah.
It was nice. I mean, I was really lucky in getting an opportunity like that because when you start on the ground floor, you learn and you grow as the company grows.
Right.
So that worked out really